All right, let's look back in history to this week in 2007, because it was tomorrow, June 29th, I'm cheating a bit here, that the first ever Apple iPhone went on sale. It was a spectacle of a debut, lines forming around the block at Apple's New York store at least 4 days prior to the release. And here's a fun fact. The first two phones sold from that New York store, they actually went to staff members for Spike Lee and Whoopi Goldberg. Similar queues of customers cropped up in San Francisco, Palo Alto, Arlington, Virginia. That $500 device, a price tag famously derided by Microsoft CEO Steve Ballmer, well, they sold 270,000 units in just 2 days. By the end of the year, Apple had sold more than 3 million, and within 5 years of the debut, Apple was moving more than 100 million iPhones each calendar year. And that brings us to our question of the day. In an interesting quirk of history, Apple's iPhone technically wasn't the first iPhone. A tiny company called Infogear had a decade earlier launched its own iPhone, complete with that lowercase I, capital P and all. However, unlike Apple's future device, the Infogear product was essentially a desktop phone with wires and a keyboard intended more for video conferencing rather than as a true mobile experience. You can't carry that thing around. It sold only around 100,000 copies before Infogear in 2000 sold itself to Cisco, which in 2006 tried to relaunch that iPhone just months before Apple's debut. Of course, only one iPhone ultimately won out. Cisco's device would quickly fade into the background, all but forgotten now. And while Apple, it would go on to sell more than 2 billion units over the years, a device that now boasts at least 1.5 billion active users today and more than $200 billion in revenue each year.